Folks, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name is Jordan Tummy Troubles Doll.
And I am Nate. Is it still Tummy Troubles? It might still be Tummy Troubles Balding.
And I am Roger, the Infinity Slayer Norquist.
Oh, there we go.
That was really good. Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Monstroco brand Ghost Salt. Tired of using all your good salt to draw sigils and circles to protect your family and possessions? Another roast ruined because you used all the salt to quell the shrieking undead? Fret no more! Our blend of mystically purified Himalayan salt is clearly marked against culinary use and is guaranteed to send spiritual entities well seasoned back to the afterlife. Monstroco Ghost Salt, now in citrus mesquite.
That is fucking a genius item, first of all. That is a legitimate problem that I have faced where, like, I would like to protect myself on what I'm doing, but I also refuse to eat food that is unseasoned.
Yeah, I like that they put, like, flavors in the salt, even though we're not going to eat them.
Yeah.
Eat the salt, because, like, I feel like that brings a little bit of individualism to the casting out of demons, you know? Like, not only are you going to be like, you know, get back to hell with you. When it shows up back to hell, they'll be like, what smells like citrus mesquite? And then he'll have to admit to it. The ghost will be like, it was me. I got busted again. By Monstroco Ghost Salt. Don't put it in food.
But what if you did, you know?
If you do put it in food, it's going to scare all of the heart and soul out of the food, and the food will be a bland, flavorless mess.
But I do want the fear inside of the meat.
Yes. That's
awesome.
An important part of it.
All right. Can I go first on this madcap adventure of paranormal fun?
Please save us.
So we don't need saving. What we need is a 5-star review. Think about giving it to us.
Give it to me.
So I was going through the archives and I found an episode where we talk about everyone's favorite, something that we're all scared of. The black-eyed children.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're all scared of something. And on that one, it's a grave nugget. You can find it if you go to our website, werewolfradar.com, go to the old episodes. It's grave nugget number 94, where we tell a tale of a black-eyed kid and black-eyed adult sighting in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening to this, and I get interested in wondering what the fuck else is happening with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I found 9 terrifying recent encounters with black-eyed children.
Boy, they really freak me out.
This is going to heal you, Jordan. You're going to have so much blood flowing soon.
Okay.
Which is what fear
that
does.
Pressure's going to be way up.
It gets yeah.
Your adrenochrome will flow, my friend.
This is the future the Democrats want.
So this is compiled by Chelsea Dagger for thelineup.com.
Oh yeah, C-Dags, the one with the knife.
That's the Joker's daughter, right?
So if you don't know who the black-eyed kids are, since the early 90s, the so-called black-eyed children have become a staple of paranormal legend. Some believe that the children first entered public consciousness after reporter Brian Bethel wrote about 2 unsettling interactions he had in 1998 with children who had entirely black eyes.
Way to go, Bethel.
If you'd like to see the horrifying picture of
they were trying to go to Mortal Kombat.
Yikes.
And knocked on his car door, or is that a different guy?
That's, I think, part of this. That's one of the early ones for sure.
That was a terrifying shop job there.
Yeah, it doesn't say specifically, but nearly 20 years later, mysterious black-eyed kids have been featured in many a creepypasta.
BEKs.
BEKs, they're called for short. But what or who are the black-eyed children? Typically, these children range in age from adolescent to late teens. And as we discussed on the Grave Nugget number 94, adults now, and they always appeal to their victims' sympathy. They ask for help. They ask, or they appear on the side of the road looking distressed, hoping you will pull over and ask what's wrong. Some believe the children are extraterrestrials or even vampires, while others believe them to be demons. Regardless, if you see a youngster with jet black eyes, proceed with caution.
I would not be like, yeah, you seem legit. Get in the car.
I'm Googling to see what diseases happen with. There is a disease that gives you all black eyes, though. It is called preorbital hematoma.
Nice.
Adult eyes, black eyes.
So let's go with the first one. We have children in the snow. I'm doing that for all of them, if I remember.
Yeah, that's because we were talking about the Muppet Show. That was a real pigs in space entrance.
In January of 2016, a woman in Vermont made a tragic mistake of letting two black-eyed children into her home.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
A blizzard was raging outside when she heard a faint knock on her door. A boy and girl stood out there, shivering, begging to use her phone.
Oh, boy.
She was unnerved by their presence, but the woman nevertheless let them in and went to retrieve her phone.
But the woman, an idiot.
After the children walked into the light of the family room, the woman realized their eyes were completely black. As she stared at them in horror, her husband's nose began to bleed at the same time that the power suddenly went out.
Yikes. What did you do?
At which point he said, this straw's no good anymore.
After what felt like an eternity, the children
were blowing lines.
The children spoke in unison, saying that their parents had arrived.
Never a good sign.
The woman watched as the two quietly left her house and entered a nondescript black car with a man in a suit.
Weird.
Not long after the strange encounter, the woman's husband was diagnosed with severe skin cancer.
Yikes.
And the woman began to suffer from regular nosebleeds and an onslaught of other medical issues.
Yikes.
She is convinced that their failing health is a result of letting the black-eyed children into their home.
I mean, it sure kind of feels like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories about like their enervating kind of aura, and that if you actually do invite them into your house, you almost always suffer some sort of immediate malady.
They want your soul.
Now we have in 2010, a man known as Neotic encountered two black-eyed teenagers outside his place of work. It was an ordinary July night in Ohio, and Neotic was in the middle of a night shift. Craving
had just returned from the Matrix.
Craving a cigarette, Neotic stepped outside the building and noticed two teenage boys across the street. As he smoked, he realized that the boys were staring at him. Wary, Neotic returned to the safety of his cubicle and tried to refocus on his work, only to see through the security cameras that the boys had appeared in front of his building, motioning for him to come outside.
Yikes.
Fed up, Neotic went to the door.
I've had enough of this, you know?
Neotic went to the door, contemplating whether or not he should call the police. As if they had read his mind, the boys insisted that such an action was unnecessary. All they needed was to use a phone. Neotic refused. He watched in horror as one of the boys continued to stare up at the security camera, while the other ventured to the back of the building.
Weird.
While watching the cameras as though they could see what Neotic was doing. With frayed nerves, Neotic contacted the police, watching the teenagers on the video feed the entire time. When the officers arrived, he could not locate the teenagers anywhere, despite having never taken his eyes off the feed.
And
anyway, I'm gonna go put Neotic's name in the chat, and you guys tell me if I pronounced it correctly.
I'm gonna say noetic.
Noetic?
But poetic, but either way, it feels like maybe this guy knew about a midnight Fortnite drop, rail guns or some shit, and they just wanted in on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip a couple. That way you all please go to the article that we're using for this. It's from thelineup.com, Black Eyed Children, and support them for allowing us to use this content. Now, I'm going to let you two decide. We got bumps in the nights or tricks and treats? Tell us in the comments what you want me to do.
I want bumps in the nights.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning as well.
All right, like bumps in the nights.
We're gonna.
Oh, everyone's in agreement.
Halloween shit.
We kind of know how that one goes, you know.
Noetic and bumps in the night. So I like Neotic.
Neotic, the tick of the future.
So bumps in the night. One night, a man was dozing in the spare bed of his infant daughter's room when he heard a strange bump outside his house. Initially, the man thought nothing of it, believing it to be the family cat. But the thumps continued. The man checked the porch, but the cat was nowhere to be found. He then walked into the kitchen and found two figures loitering outside his front door.
Uh-oh.
They knocked on the door. The figures were boys around 10 or 11 and gave off a pungent, moldy odor.
Ew, what?
They asked, "May we use your telegraph?"
What?
Which I think is a British thing.
I think maybe that's just like strange old-timey. Yeah.
All right.
I think maybe they're out of place. They didn't read their dossier.
Undead. Maybe the mold that he's smelling is
right. That was my first thought.
Just rot.
Okay, so we're delving into maybe
grave.
This is a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what the black-eyed children truly are? Or maybe they're inside all of us. Maybe we're all a little bit black-eyed kids.
Don't you dare.
So after saying that, the boys look up at the man, and the man realizes that both the boys had eyes that were completely black. Ignoring the odd remark about a telegraph, the man told the boys he didn't have service in his house and shut the door. As the man slowly made his way back to his daughter's room, the two boys...
You did say that these are recent stories, right?
Yes, these are recent. So, yeah, ignoring the odd remark about a telegraph
service.
No, like he thought it was weird as no, that's not a thing.
All right.
Yeah, this is very much maybe last year.
British homes had like remaining telegraph service that you could hook up to.
They're just some dude tapping away still.
It's like AM radio. Nobody knows how to turn it off.
So the man shuts the door, refuses the boys' entry, and says they don't have service. As he goes back to his daughter's room, the boys began to thump on the walls. The man clutches his daughter to his chest as the boys incessantly knock against the window. Their eerie eyes and awful persistence made the man too scared to fall asleep. They were doing this for hours. He remained crouched on the floor of the room for several hours, fighting to ignore the knocks that occurred every couple of minutes.
Very weird.
Well,
the moment his wife's alarm...
There's your moment of paranormal preparedness. Be prepared to be crouched in the dark for many
Yeah.
hours.
Prepare for crouching.
Truly, yeah. Just get ready. Practice now if you can. Sit in the middle of any room and crouch. And see how long you can do it. Try and get to 7 hours.
Yeah, be as invisible as you possibly can be.
So the moment his wife's alarm clock went off, the knocking ceased. So weird connection there. The black-eyed children were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, that seems strangely aggressive for black-eyed kids to me.
This one is
Yeah, that almost makes me think that they were just teens.
who put in some huge eye lenses to make them all dark.
Scleral lenses.
They do exist.
Mm-hmm.
We have time of my segment for one more. We have, did the cat go away? Or not in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I think just based on all of the off-mic conversation that we've had today, it's got to be the cat's one.
It's got to be the cat one. Yes. So in early November 2012, a woman was up late watching a movie with her cat.
Mm-hmm. Like you do.
Like you do.
Yeah.
And then the cat suddenly...
Darn cat.
Yeah.
The cat leaps off of her lap, suddenly out of nowhere. The woman was left stunned as she followed her cat into the laundry room, but the cat refused to leave from its spot between the machines. Suddenly, the woman heard knocks on her door and figured it was late trick-or-treaters. When she opened the door, the woman was met by 2 children, a boy and a girl. However, something was strange about the children. They just stood there looking into her house.
Like
they
a
weren't
couple
wearing
of
costumes.
dipshits.
They weren't wearing costumes.
Our mother? We've been looking for you.
Yikes.
Now, they weren't wearing costumes or holding buckets. The boy suddenly asks if her cat had left, which arose concern in the woman.
Weird.
Then the girl whispered to the woman, "We need to get inside."
Yikes.
The boy was now staring at her and grinning.
Yikes.
This is when she noticed that her eyes were completely black, and the woman shut the door and called the police. Now, the police were able to find footprints that led into the forest behind the woman's home.
Odd.
It wasn't until months later that the woman found a makeshift bed in her garden shed.
What?
That might be unrelated.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Still.
I mean, when was the last time she was out there?
That could be because I've been to places where like the woods and society, like fucking Ithaca's like this, to where like there's a lot of there's a huge community of people living on the edge of the woods, and you'll just find makeshift beds in like soft places of ground on the edge of like people's homes and stuff, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But all this is a lot of coincidence for me, and I think the black-eyed children are sleeping in your garden bed.
Yeah, I mean, it really seems that way.
Well, and they missed that cat that they used to play with.
And yeah, knowing about the cat running away is fucking bizarre.
Yeah,
man.
that's fucking bonkers.
Even if they were just like fucking kids having fun, like some homeless kids who are able to buy some fucking whatever they're
Some
called.
straw
No,
to make a makeshift bed.
No, the eye things to make their eyes all black. You know,
scleral
like,
lenses.
Yeah.
it's a lot. It spooks me. I hope I gave you guys some goosebumps with that, though. I hope, Jordan, your blood's flowing more. I hope your heart's beating.
Oh, it's beating.
And I now pass the speaking skull to one of you.
I would like to take it. May I?
Go ahead.
Take it.
All right. I take the speaking skull because I don't want to be on 4chan anymore. So this is something that my brother sent to me.
Weirdly enough, the one place where the speaking skull exists.
This is from a thing that my brother sent to me, which was recently, like last week, a person identifying themselves as a UAP whistleblower posted what they claimed was a huge leak of UFO and UAP incident information, inside information from the government, according to this person on the internet, who is to be believed at all costs. But it is pretty interesting stuff. And if we were to take this at face value, life altering. This is a game changer. This is from anonymous 4chan whistleblower, but they say
I understand now what you were doing. I thought you were doing other things, man. I'm glad it was this.
They say, I have intimate knowledge of what the U.S. currently knows about UFOs minus the last 2 years. So presumably they were let go a couple of years ago for having a big mouth.
Which is exactly when disclosure occurred.
Yes. Number 1, UFOs are primarily unmanned drones. Number 2, UFOs are built to spec each time they are deployed. So basically, every time you see a UFO, it is a new drone built for that specific observation or occasion or task.
Kind of like what we do with our drones.
Yeah.
They're very specified. We just shoot them out and we go, have fun, robot. Mars is yours.
Number 3, and this one's fucking crazy. UFOs are created by a mobile construction facility that hides in the ocean.
What?
UFOs are created by a mobile construction facility that hides in the ocean.
All right.
Number 4.
All right, that's a new one.
That's some abyss shit.
Construction facility destroys anything that comes close to it and will disappear for days when approached aggressively. Number 5, U.S. believes the facility has been active on Earth for at least 100 years or much longer. And then the person
about Atlantis.
And then
No,
the person,
first of all, everything is about Atlantis, Nate. That's what we've been working for.
And then the person answers some questions. They say, is there a working theory on the origins? If so, care to elaborate? They say quite a bit, we think. The construction facility has been around since at least 4000 BC. See sightings/paintings from early eras of history.
I was going to say it could explain some of those.
Next question. Has any form of intelligible communication been established? Yes. It also depends on your viewpoint. They mostly want very little to do with us until we start to talk about war and nuclear options. It's one of the reasons why you see them so often at critical events. Next question. Do they know who or what is creating these crafts? Yes. As mentioned earlier, the mobile construction unit is responsible for their deployment and construction.
Kind of a sassy answer. That's not what I meant.
Right? That's not what we were asking. Yeah. Any potential that they are made by a higher branch of the U.S. government? Absolutely not. Next question. What allows them to fly so fast? What technology? Gravity manipulation and the materials they are constructed from.
Probably.
No, it's gravity manipulation and the materials they are constructed from. Next question. Is it related to that one under rock in that one Scandinavian country, the one that deploys within tectonic spaces? And they say, no, this one almost never leaves the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, shit.
Next question. This guy isn't really a question. He says, bullshit. Governments have and have had for a while advanced anti-gravity crafts. And the response is, you asked if the particular UFOs we study are a result of a foreign government, not if other governments have shittier versions. Speed alone tells us what we're looking at.
I'm sorry. Does Iceland have a magical rock?
It might.
Of course it does.
Is that what that sentence said? Not to go back to 2 points, but
It's full of elves, possibly machine elves.
I think they're referring. They're asking if it refers to this other phenomenon that was observed in some Scandinavian space, and the person says, "No, shut up."
oh, sorry, sir. You're the whistleblower.
Like
I
Swedish
apologize.
rockets or whatever.
Apparently not. Next question. Do the UAPs return back to the manufacturing unit? Yes, some come in and leave the planet, but very rarely. Usually the same number that comes in goes out unless special circumstances arise. It feels more like a carrier, but with construction capability.
Okay.
Next question. What are the purposes of the UAPs? Surveillance of humans? The U.S. believes they are not here to harm us. They only seem interested in us once they realize we are destroying things around us, including each other. One of the officials in charge said something that stuck with me. Quote, "They act like keepers of a zoo, uninterested in the daily life of wildlife until there's a problem."
I hear that a lot, that zoo theory. And to be honest, I believe it more and more, to where they're just watching how we develop for scientific reasons, really, more than political reasons.
This person says, "I can approach that facility without being attacked." The response is, LOL. The last unit we saw approach the facility didn't even have time to communicate they were being attacked before it was over.
Then how'd you know?
I think probably because it exploded.
It could explode for many reasons underwater, though.
Truth.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
This person says, "What's buried under the mesa on Skinwalker Ranch? Is that
Nice,
show
good question.
even legitimate? It seems like some of the most legitimate research on anything paranormal that I've ever seen in my life, and I'm very curious about what they seem to be finding."
Yeah.
The response is,
I am curious about the research response initially, where they just shot at some stuff that disappeared.
they say no idea that the project, if any, is likely kept separate. There were 2 rare elements found fused together that were under the mesa, and I'm very curious what's going on there. No idea about that either. The crafts we recover are built with numerous elements. Some aren't even obtainable here.
I'll show you with my evil Hydron Collider.
Not going to read that next statement because it's some deep 4chan shit.
Nice. Nice. How deep on the iceberg is it?
It's pretty slur heavy.
Okay.
That's 4chan.
So this person says, "Are they friends?" And they say they cut their losses when crashes are recovered. Same with personnel. Zookeepers aren't friends with the animals.
Boo! I
Now,
have so many TikToks that say otherwise.
I was just going to say, I see a lot of TikToks where they're getting along great.
Yeah.
Next question. Do you know if the entities behind the UFOs are native to Earth, like an older civilization, breakaway civilization, or a civilization of humans that escaped a previous cycle of cataclysm due to their advanced tech? Answer. Limited expertise, since my role is more craft analysis. U.S. believes they are foreign to our world. A previous cataclysm could make sense. They also show up in times of strife, such as natural events.
Well, didn't this person also say that they're at least 5,000 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Possibly, yes.
But I mean, who's to say that there wasn't an advanced civilization on Earth that survived some sort of liquefaction of the surface?
We think this might be double Atlantis.
Double Atlantis, exactly.
Yeah, mirror Atlantis? I don't know.
I think
we'll
that's
work on it.
pretty close. We'll work on it. We'll have something next week. Also, I think that other guy who was talking about approaching the area without being attacked is a remote viewer. Oh.
I thought he would say he meant it as a joke, man.
Right?
Yeah.
No, he's a remote viewer.
And
if he is, I suppose he wasn't lying.
Yeah, true. The answer is I lurked on other boards, but haven't really been to this one since I was comfortable with the answers I have. I wasn't aware that was a thing on here. There were rumors among my coworkers that they had psionic abilities, but honestly, it rarely comes up in a conversation. Give it a shot.
Just throw it out there, see what happens.
Sure, go remote view it and see if you get fucking mind attacked. Have you tried sending in a raft of hippies? The AI may not recognize them as a threat, JK. The answer, based on previous disappearances and acts of hostility, we believe the construction facility, quote, carrier, has learned what it is and isn't hostile. Usually it will just move away or stay deep underwater. It doesn't fire on civilian boats, for example. Exceptions apply when we have seen one or two go missing, usually after sharp turns, etc. Interesting.
Wow, there was a whole lawsuit after the Lusitania. So
they say, this person asks, any relation to Antarctica? My section monitored just this craft and any interactions it attempted. A previous coworker did mention something in passing of Antarctica at one point, but I ignored it, if I'm being honest. Talking about the other projects is considered career suicide. Wow.
Is this... You're whistleblowing on 4chan, man. I don't think you're worried about fucking career suicide. Is this also possibly part of like some weirder ship mysteries, like the Mary Celeste and a few of the catamarans who have gone like just weirdly gone with like food on the table, you know, like
maybe
weird sharp turn, and then like they're taken as hostile and they're just liquefied. But the food is not hostile, so it was left alone.
How about the destination of the space orbs? Is Jupiter a potential destination? I believe they are keeping a massive orb inside of the gas giant, though I have no evidence but many dreams of it. Wow.
Ooh.
Destiny heads. The traveler is upon us.
Yeah, baby.
The answer is no idea. If it is a project, I haven't seen it. No orbs out of the construction facility, just UFOs. We will read one more leaf of this, but we could really go on forever. There's a lot of questions and a lot of interesting answers. I recommend you check it out on Imager, because the post was deleted from 4chan almost immediately after the questions were done being asked. What units have been lost approaching this construction machine? Why have they not sent a sea wolf to investigate? The Jimmy Carter with its nanotech.
Send the wolf.
Because we haven't had a sea wolf in years. They all got too old.
This says everything you can think of, really. At one point, nuclear missiles were being toyed with again, and we deployed fighters and a sub with serious intent. Everything except the sub was lost.
All right.
How have they come to the conclusion the UAP being released are extraterrestrial? If they don't know what the UAP are to begin with, or if there's nothing inside them, it's a pretty big jump to go right to ET. And the answer, they crash sometimes. Parts fail, and gravity engines near the surface of the planet can be like crossing an intersection. We recover these sometimes. We recover these and sometimes find passengers. We mostly see drones now. Back in the earlier days, we saw a lot more piloted craft.
That's a weird thing, though.
It is weird.
Weird coincidence to where, like, in the early days, they would have pilots like we would. And now that we have unmanned drones, they use unmanned drones.
Well, yeah. Also, didn't they mention that these drones are being made on this carrier? So does that even mean that they're extraterrestrial?
Oh, Nate with the semantics.
That would make them terrestrial.
Get them.
One of us.
No, I think it works like it would typical like nationalities or so. Like, first of all, your grandparents are German or Swedish or whatever. Your dad's questionable, you know, but third generation, you're American.
Why do you not know?
These drones are terrestrial.
Why do you not know anything about the last 2 years? Just curious. Moved on from the project because of new management that didn't trust older proven methods. Wow. Seen it 1,000 times. This person says, also,
I don't know what the older proven methods are.
You know, a stake on the end of a fishing rod. Also, lol, the last unit we saw approach the facility didn't even have time to communicate. They were being attacked before it was over. Any details on what happened? Okay. Normal approach details. Pilot responsive and actively talking. The feed cuts out. Pilot still talking. Suddenly nothing. Poor guy likely had no idea it was likely a suicide mission. Based on what we've seen, the construction facility has far superior weapons than the UFOs do. This weapon destroys the matter it hits entirely. It also shits on anything electronic in the vicinity.
EMP.
Yeah.
Disintegration gun, but it can still operate its own electronics, maybe like a living. I don't know. The aliens can use all sorts of technology. I always like the idea of, though, like a space whale that you use to travel.
Yeah.
Space whale's a good one.
This one says this will be the last one. The contents and equipment usually mimic the intended purpose to, like the equipment share a pattern specific to its purpose. I think this was translated poorly. Basically, this person is asking, does the equipment and the contents of these drones give us any indication of its purpose?
Yes.
And the response is yes. Usually we find a thinner model, for example, it would have no pilot and a lot of sensory hardware. My favorite is finding one that is fitted for research. If we are lucky, we find things we've never seen before. Before I left, we were looking at what we thought was a lab of some kind for genetics.
You know, I thought we were past the days where we had to look for thinner models.
Wow.
I'm proud of that one.
This is pretty good. So there you have it, folks. There is a big leak coming out of the 4chan. 4chan is leaking. Everybody out of the building. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But if this person they seem to have a lot of details and a lot of specifics that are interesting to me. I'm definitely going to read the rest of these. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. That does it for my segment that I'm calling UFO.
That's a lot of slurs for Chance.
Solid.
Hell yeah. Nate, I pass you the speaking skull 3-pointer style.
Oh, he's on fire.
He's on fire.
The skull, I mean. Uh-oh. What you'll know about the Lakenheath and Bentwaters incidents?
That's the first time I've heard those words.
I know that 32 were murdered that night. No one found the man who did it, but I got theories. Unless I'm mistaking it for something completely different.
No, different incident.
Damn it, Roger.
I'll find him.
Also,
you keep looking, pal.
I know you're going to look. Nothing stops you. That's what they say. This is another UFO thing. So maybe we'll even be able to tie some of this shit in. This is the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident. I'm pulling most of this from Wikipedia because it's the least woo of all the places that I found information about it. Was a series of radar and visual contacts with UFOs over air bases in eastern England on the night of August 13th through the 14th in 1956. Involving personnel from both the RAF and the United States Air Force. The final report of the Condon Committee, which we'll get to, which otherwise concluded that UFOs were simple misidentifications of natural phenomena or aircraft, took an unusual position on this case in particular. It ends with, in conclusion, although conventional or natural explanations certainly cannot be ruled out, the probability of such seems low in this case, and the probability that at least one genuine UFO was involved appears to be fairly high. So somebody saw something.
Yeah.
It has, however, also been argued that the incidents can be explained by false radar return and misidentification of astronomical phenomena.
Okay.
But there's a bunch of these. So the commonly cited sequence of events is recorded in the original Project Blue Book file by the USAF. So already, we're going to blue books.
One we know well.
Subsequently analyzed by the Condon Committee's report and by atmospheric physicist James E. McDonald. The incident begins at the USAF tenanted RAF Bentwaters, Suffolk, on the evening of August 13th, 1956. It says it was a dry, largely clear night with observers noted an unusually large number of shooting stars, although this is during the Perseids, so maybe they just had a good view that night.
Sure.
At 2130, radar operators at the base tracked a target appearing similar to a normal aircraft return, approaching the base from the sea at an apparent speed of several thousand miles per hour.
This is all tracking with what our whistleblower said.
Yeah, well, and this is also 1956.
Yeesh.
They also tracked a group of targets moving slowly to the northeast, which merged into a single very large return. This says several times the strength of that from a B-36. I don't know what that actually means, but pretty large, apparently. Before moving off the scope to the north, as well as further rapid targets proceeding from east to west. So just a bunch of shit moving crazy fast on the radar.
Yeah.
So, of course, they sent some people into the sky. A T-33 trainer from the 512th Fighter Interceptor Squadron, crewed by First Lieutenants Charles Metz and Andrew Rowe, was directed to investigate the radar contacts, but saw nothing. No visual sightings of the objects were made from Bentwaters in this period, with the exception of a single amber star-like object, which was subsequently identified as probably being Mars, then low in the southeast.
I've seen Mars low in the southeast. And I couldn't imagine as a fighter pilot trained to see shit coming at you.
You would call it star-like.
Yeah. I saw Mars live at Red Rocks. And
How was it?
Wild.
Nice.
Mars still has it.
Not too much later, at 2255, a target was detected approaching the Bentwaters from the east at a speed estimated around 2,000 to 4,000 miles an hour. Somewhere in there. It faded from the scope as it passed over the base, possibly suggesting anomalous propagation as a source for the target, although ground-based radar almost always have a blind spot overhead. Again, I'm not 100% sure what that implies, but something weird. And then it reappears on radar in the west. However, as it passed overhead, a rapidly moving white light was observed from the ground, while the pilot of a C-47 at 4,000 feet over Bentwaters reported that a similar light passed beneath his craft. So, I don't know, meteor falling?
That's what I was kind of thinking, but...
Debris.
But it seems to be moving with some kind of... it's not just going straight. It's
zigging, it's zagging
around. Yeah,
it has a course.
At this point, Bentwaters alerted the U.S. tenanted RAF Lakenheath base, some 40 miles to the northwest, to look out for targets. Ground personnel at Lakenheath made visual sightings of several luminous objects, including two which arrived, made a sharp change in course, and appeared to merge before moving off. So what the fuck that's Transformers, I guess, of some kind.
Oh, there have been Decepticons in the area.
They're transforming.
The angular size of these objects was compared to that of a golf ball at arm's length, and they were stated to dwindle to pinpoint size as they moved away, an observation which seems to rule out a bolide or bright meteor. And they also merged and changed course, so that's not a meteor.
I don't know. Meteors do some crazy shit, man.
You think meteors are
not like that
out there?
I think they're getting crazy.
Whose side are you on?
I'm
you
on
from the ocean.
No, I'm on the Earthman side. Jordan, fellow Earthman.
Yes, yes.
The final phase of the incident was described in some detail by Tech Sergeant Forrest Perkins, who was the watch supervisor at the Lakenheath Radar Air Traffic Control Center, and who wrote directly to the Condon Committee. This is some years later, in 1968. Perkins claimed that 2 RAF de Havilland Venom interceptors were scrambled and directed towards a radar target near Lakenheath. The pilot of the first Venom did achieve contact, but then found that the target maneuvered behind him and chased the aircraft for 10 minutes, despite all of his evasive actions.
Boy, you spooked it. You got it. This is like pissing off a magician.
Well, and Perkins characterized the pilot as, quote, getting worried, excited, and also pretty scared.
Yeah.
Dude, those fighter jet pilots are fucking crazy. Dude, they really like flying. They really like what they do. And when they find someone who can like match them with turns and shit, it's all like, well, let's see what else you can do. Can you go faster too? It's like watching dogs play.
Except one of them can go 2,000 to 4,000 miles an hour if they want.
Dogs can do that. They just don't want to.
Dogs are great, man.
The second Venom actually got grounded because they had engine problems pretty immediately. Perkins stated that the target remained on their screens for a short period before leaving on a northerly heading. The investigation by the Condon Committee, which is just the weird faceless version of, I guess, Blue Book, included the case in its analysis largely in response to Perkins' letter. Aside from the Blue Book file, it was able to obtain a previously classified teleprinter message transmitted 3 days after the incident from the 39 10th Air Force Base Group to Air Defense Command and AFB. Who cares about any of that? The message.
I care. I'm Mr. Facts.
I mean, I can send you a much longer, way more involved version of this.
No, I'm not.
If you really want.
I'm good.
The teleprinter's message description of the events, including the chase episode, largely agreed with that of Perkins. So they have no reason to really disbelieve that any of this happened. Based on the information available, the committee's researcher felt that while anomalous propagation was possible, the lack of other targets on radar scopes at the time makes it unlikely. Focusing on the later phase of the incident in Lakenheath, he came to the remarkable conclusion that, quote, this is the most puzzling and unusual case in the radar visual files.
Wow. The radar visual files. That's what we use.
Exactly. If we don't see it, we don't understand it.
It's a good
all
rule.
The visual files.
Truth.
The apparently rational, intelligent behavior of the UFO suggests a mechanical device of unknown origin as the most probable explanation of the sighting.
It's all lining up, y'all.
Yeah. Aviation journalist and noted UFO skeptic Philip Klass concluded, however, that the incident could be explained as a combination of false radar returns and misperceptions of meteors from the Perseid stream.
Jeez.
Have you ever, I've watched the Perseids
Yeah.
I've never been able to catch
many
them.
times.
Beautiful. It's a lot of fast moving streaks.
Yeah, they don't really fall to Earth as, fiery looking orbs.
Yeah.
Do they explode ever? I saw a meteor explode one time over the desert, and it was
I saw that
frightening.
too, actually.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, that shit's wild.
Yeah, and extraordinarily frightening.
It was very frightening.
Here we get into the account of Freddie Wimbledon and a further civilian witness.
F. Wims.
And how Wimbledon tournament was created.
Exactly. They were going to use tennis to describe how the UFOs moved and how it was very easy to change the trajectory of one of those balls. Little information emerged from the case until the late 70s when an article in the Daily Express, I'm guessing not a paper of repute, and a subsequent piece by astronomer Ian Ridpath in the Sunday Times produced further witnesses. Flight lieutenant, though, I think is
Frightening lieutenant.
a name that I use sometime in the future.
Right, Lieutenant.
Freddie Wimbledon wrote to the Sunday Times on March 19th, 78, contesting Ridpath's statement that the incident had been effectively explained by Philip Klass. Wimbledon had been the radar controller on duty at RAF Neatishead at the time of the sightings, so not too far away. While his account of events agreed with that of Perkins in some details, including the description of an aircraft apparently being chased by an object, he stated that it had in fact been his team who directed the two Venoms to the interception, and that U.S. personnel at Lakenheath had just been listening in. And none of that really matters. Basically, we've got another guy saying, like, I had a whole team watch this fucking thing chase one of our guys.
And then the U.S. government is trying to do a little stolen UFO valor.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Skipping ahead a little. Also, a bunch of other people did see an odd grouping of amber lights. So that's not Mars. That's a bunch of amber lights.
Yeah.
And I could maybe hear it blamed as like maybe it is Mars and Venus together, but once again, like
they don't talk.
Yeah, they don't talk, they don't zig and zag, like they stay pretty stationary. They might flicker, but like they don't have any other characteristics.
Well, and also planets famously don't flicker. If you see something flickering, it's a star. If you see something solid, it's a planet.
Then what did I see last September?
The world may never know.
Recent research. 4 British Fertain researchers, a Dr. David Clark, Andy Roberts, Martin Shaw, and Jenny Randalls, have since conducted a study that has indicated that the incident or incidents were much more complex than even the Condon report suggests. Most significantly, the aircrews originally involved in the incident, flying officers Chambers and Brady from the first aircraft, and flying officers Ian Fraser Kerr and Ivan Logan from the second, were interviewed. The aircraft involved all flew with the 23rd Squadron of RAF Water Beach and were scrambled at between 2 and 2:40 in the morning on August 14th. Around 2 hours later, then Condon talks about all of these things happening. So this shit just kept going on over other air bases. In contrast to the reports given in the original classified teleprinter message and in the accounts of both Wimbledon and Perkins, the air crews both stated that the radar contacts obtained were unimpressive and that no tail chase or action on part of the target occurred. They also asserted no visual contacts were made. The first pilot, Chambers, commented that my feeling is that there was nothing there. It was some sort of mistake. While Ivan Logan, the second Venom's navigator, stated that all that we saw was a blip on the radar indicating a stationary target. At times, they also said that it was a weather balloon. So all of this sounds like a cover-up that happened a bunch of years later.
Wow.
This is a lot of stuff to take in. I've never heard any of this.
Well, and I mean, I'll give you one fun guess about the name of a nearby forest.
Nottingham.
Rendlesham.
Oh.
You know, the one with all the UFOs.
Yeah, but not the one with Robin Hood.
No, well, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, that's another weird coincidence. Like it's all the same forest, like some sort of weird like UFO region.
And this is also within the aforementioned, if you listen to the news later on this week, Welsh Triangle that I've talked about a little bit before, where there was the incident at Broadhaven that was very close to the Ariel School incident, where a bunch of children all saw a UFO drop and a spaceman come out.
Oh, yeah.
And they all had the exact same story.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit's always crazy. But then people will just be like, oh, but they're kids. So what do kids know?
Yeah, but I mean, they know.
Sometimes they know what they saw, man.
Man.
But I mean, if you really want to get into it, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident has a lot more weird shit going on, but it's all very boring, and it mostly comes from governmental sites or people who are like, you know, this is probably, people will go into all kinds of other crazy ass conspiracy theories about it, most of which I don't know if I can get behind. So, you know,
okay.
I guess do your own research if you must.
Do your own research. You're just asking some questions. Yeah, do your own surgery.
It's a crazy thing, and it was kind of huge. Like, a lot of people saw something, and then it seems like there was a little bit of a cover-up, and it's only sort of recently being looked at again.
Yeah, crazy. Well, there you have it, folks. An episode of Werewolf Radar chock full of aliens and black-eyed kids who may also be aliens.
They might be aliens. What if they're feasting on our nightmares?
Oh, boy. It definitely seems like they're more emotional vampires or something. They seem to be more from the spiritual realm. It's always funny to me when you hear about, like, there was a black-eyed adult in Florida. It's like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You don't have to go far to find one of those. Shout out to our friends in Florida. Keep hanging in there. I went to Florida recently, and I got to tell you,
those dark ass shades, man.
Do it.
I got to tell you, it was beautiful. It was very big bikini bottom vibes down there. Too bad about the fascists. Anyway, that does it for another episode of Werewolf Radar. Thank you so much for continuing to support what we do, for continuing to listen and hang in the chat. Cheesebot, shout out. Y'all are the best. Shout out to Chuck from Snappy Little Numbers for our intro and outro song. You can, if you want to see more of us, we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on friggin' YouTube. We're at werewolfradar.com. You can also go to Twitch.
We're in every mirror in your house if you know how to say the words right.
Mm-hmm.
Every shadow, every scream, every breath between nightmares. You'll find us. Twitch, Mondays, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. You'll usually find us playing some kind of game over on twitch.tv/werewolf_radar. If you really, really loved what we do here, you can go to, what's it called? Patreon. That's it. Patreon.com. /Werewolf Radar. You can become one of our Dark Council members. You will receive an extra episode every week. You will receive additional art and friggin' fiction and all kinds of shit. And you'll be our best friends, more importantly, for helping support the show. But if you can't do that, just give us 5 stars somewhere. We know you got stars in the pantry. Get them out. Shake them into the internet for us.
We would like to be professional paranormal talkers. And there's only one way to get it. That's your donation.
That's stars.
Yeah, that's stars and donations.
Stars and donations. Hearts, stars, and horseshoes.
The stars and the scars. That's what they call our battle flag.
Okay, now we're just evolving into word salad here. We're going to go ahead and sign off for the week. Thank you so much once again for listening. Until next time, our super secret sign-off line on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Punch
Punch the sky, Spaceman Joe.